I always forget to record. So somebody needs to be reminding me every class to start the recording, because I always forget. And then when I get the recordings after the class is over, I will put them in the announcements. Okay. So we have a 2-hour lecture, and then the rest is online. I am always available for Zooms. You saw the syllabus cover sheet in your announcements. I always put my office hours, my virtual, just to keep them straight, for the hour before class starts. So I think I put on the syllabus course sheet for this class, it would be, what time is it? This is 3 to 5. For me, it's 1 to 3 because I'm in Denver. So I put 2 to 3. Okay. But that's just to put something on the syllabus sheet. I'm available then, and I'm available whenever. Okay. So I want you to know that I'm more than available. I can set up a Zoom meeting in 20 seconds. Okay. So I'm available to meet with you guys whenever. Okay. So let's see. You know what I do? I provide students guidance and learning activities. I provide feedback to you guys about your progress. Online, we have weekly homework assignments and learning activities. We do not have any quizzes in this class. Okay. This is part of the generic PowerPoint. We've tried to individualize it as best as possible. There are no quizzes. Okay. We have 3 exams and a Hessie. Okay. If you've read through the syllabus, you know this, right? Students are responsible to complete the required coursework every week. And then you'll meet students from other locations in your online courses. And you will in this course, because there's 2 group projects. And I'll be assigning you groups by the end of the week. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But students are responsible to complete the required coursework every week. Here's the way I look at that. Okay, you guys are in your 7th of 8 terms for nursing. You're going to be nurses soon. Okay, I don't need late stuff. I don't need late anything unless there's an emergency. Okay, you guys are on your way to take your boards here soon. Okay, I consider all of you as future caretakers of my family, okay, and my children, okay? And so we go through the steps for success, but there are some very basic expectations that you guys should already have mastered, right? And that, I'm just going to throw them out there. What's the word I'm looking for? Communication styles, what's my word? Punctuality. Okay. Turning work in on time. If you're late with work, you're going to be late with a medication. If you're late to class, you're going to be late to work. I don't know. I mean, hopefully not. And then the one thing I'll tell my students right up front is all I want is communication. That's it. Hang on, Tara Daniels. I think she was already in here. Sorry for all these interruptions. This kind of stuff. Oh, Tara. Tara's the one who was ill. So Tara's coming in. Hang on. Okay, so we have everybody here. Wow, I can put my text sheets away. So, where was I? Punctuality. The way you're performing this class is probably a good part of the way you're going to perform in your nursing profession, right? So, having good work habits, study habits, that should already be in place. Okay, this isn't week 1. I mean, this isn't semester 1. Okay, so communication with me is big. Okay, I'm probably an over communicator. I like these classes to be interactive because I don't want to talk for 2 hours and you don't want to hear me talk for 2 hours. I expect you to be prepared. I'm really, really, really easy to get along with. Really easy. Okay, I'm not hardcore, or I'm just not. Okay, it's a team effort. You do yours, I'll do mine, and we'll all get through this together and you'll pass this course because you need to pass this course to move on. Okay, and this is not a hard course. I think it's a fun course. I think it just gets you out of the the acute care clinical setting, and you learn what the community is. And I should have asked that before I started this. So let's pause here for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see faces. What do you guys think community nursing is? What is it? And if you think it's just home health, don't feel bad, because that's what a lot of students feel like it is. Home health. What else is community nursing? Go ahead.
Department.
Health department. Yep. What else?
There's a way to prevent diseases.
And you can throw your answers if you don't want to speak out loud. You can throw them in the chat. I'm cool with that.
Education.
Big part of community nursing. Education. Yep.
So would the healthy people thing be mainly made up by community nursing?
Yep. I see healthcare expos. Yep. Working outside of the hospital. Yep. All good. Yep. So what kind of, go ahead.
I was gonna say, could it also be like disaster relief, like that kind of thing, or no?
Yep. Like perfect. Think of your own community. What happens in your community? School nurses. That was my next question. What kind of role might you be? What kind of role might you have if you were in public health and community nursing? Whoever just put in school nurse, that's one. And if you've looked through your syllabus and to see all the topics we're going to cover, which we will, there's several more. What else? What other kind of nurse might you be in the community besides a school nurse?
HIV testing.
Sure.
What about the VA?
Well, that's in the hospital setting. I'm talking in the community. But you have your VA clinics in the community.
Have your VA clinics in the community.
Yep. Yep. So you could be working in a clinic. You could be a school nurse. What about a hospice nurse? Preventative care. Yep. Yep. That's primary. We're going to talk about that. What about an occupational health nurse? Is that in the community? And so what does she focus on? He or she focus on occupational health?
Maybe like screenings, like.
But what setting? Work settings.
Work setting, yeah, to promote safety and.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So we do a whole chapter on occupational health. We do school health. We do hospice and home care. What about, could you be maybe an immunization nurse, vaccine nurse?
Yeah.
With the pandemic, could you be a COVID nurse? Clinics. So we'll go through the syllabus, but there's lots of different functions. Infectious diseases, absolutely. Could you be the epidemiology nurse at the health department? Yep.
Yes.
Yep. What else do you guys think of when you think of community? Do you think
low income?
Yep.
Health clinics.
Do you think of vulnerable populations, caring for vulnerable populations?
I was gonna say rural areas, like providing nursing care and that kind of situation.
We do a whole chapter on rural nursing. Yeah. Can you imagine if think of the community you live in now? I don't know how much you know about it. I don't know if you're involved. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys know about your community? One of the projects that you will do this term, it's not due till week 9. So make a little note here to just go and look at week 9 and go and look at, it's called Vulnerable Populations Assignment. Okay. We'll talk about it again, but you don't have to look at it this week. But if you want to get an idea, that's not an assignment you can start on week 8. Okay. Probably want to be starting on week 4 or 5. So you pick a vulnerable population in your community. The community that you live in, that you're interested in nutrition. I just saw that. Yes, big part of community education. You pick a vulnerable population in your community. If you go to module 9, it's right in there. Addiction. Yes, addiction. We do a whole chapter on that. That's big time in the community. It's so you're going to pick a vulnerable population in your community. Homelessness, addiction, mental health, teen pregnancy, suicide, whatever you want to study in your community. Alcohol abuse. Yep. Absolutely. You're going to pick a vulnerable population and you're going to do a research paper on it. You're going to contact the health department, get statistics and all that. So heads up, that's going to be due in week 9. So if you want to look it up, feel free to. So community nursing, we deal with vulnerable populations all the time. And just think about it. Think about the difference between going into your, let's say, your med-surg clinical to take care of a group of patients on a med-surg floor. You go into peds clinical, taking care of peds patients on a pediatric floor. Okay, your med-surg floor is going to be adults. Think about community. Community you're caring for across the whole lifespan, right? You could be doing infant care, teaching new parents how to bathe their babies or how to take care of their babies, right? How to bond, how to do all that. You could be taking care of or teaching preschool kids safety. You could be teaching adolescent kids risks of suicide, obesity in high school, STDs in high school, teaching about that. Adults, addiction, kids, teenagers, addiction, all the way up to the elderly with dementia. So in the community, you could be caring for anybody. Does that make sense? So in the community, you have to bring your whole toolbox, right? You bring your med-surg skills, your OB skills, your pediatric skills, your mental health skills.
Should
right?
you be recording again?
Am I not recording? I'm recording. Wait, yes.
Okay. I thought you turned it off. Okay.
No, I have a little recording dot at the top left of my screen. Am I good? Okay.
Yes.
So think about it. And then let's assume you live in a pretty big community, like, what do I have? Centerville, Cookville. You have a public health department. They probably have an immunization nurse. They probably have a COVID nurse. They have home health nurses. They have hospice nurses. Think if you work in the rural. Think if you're a community public health nurse in the rural community. You're probably most of these things. So you even need a bigger toolbox for that, right? Does that make sense? So community nursing encompasses a lot. We don't typically, if you're focused on the inpatient and the acute care, you don't really think about think about what it takes for your community to function. Who assesses the risks in your community, right? And what do you do about them? You know, are you a community that might have lots of environmental risks because you live near, I don't know, plants or industrial? You live near train tracks. You live near a highway. You know, what kind of risks are presented to your community based on your location, the people that live in your community? Is it an affluent community? Is it a low poverty community? Just think about it. Think about your own community you live in and what it takes to function. Schools, how are the schools? What are the issues in your schools? As a community health nurse, you're going to want to know that. What's the crime rate? How do you do a community assessment? How do you do a family assessment? How do you do individual assessments? How do you do home visits? It's all part of how do you help transition people coming home from the hospital, going home, right? Who organizes their care? Who takes care of them? Who helps the elderly with dementia with their medications? Right? I mean, we're doing think of the last 10 years, how much care we're doing at home now instead of in the acute care setting. So I'm just kind of off on my little tangent here, talking about community, but just wanting you guys to understand how big the role is. I mean, if you live in a really big community, you have lots of resources for community and public health, that's great. But if you don't, you end up wearing a lot of hats. Okay. All right. Enough of that. Actually, by the time I'm always jumping ahead. So I've already probably covered half the stuff that's in this PowerPoint in my little, whatever you want to call it. Okay. In my profile, I'm going down to the bottom here. I have also put the contact information for Dean Brown. Okay, it's at the bottom of, and I'll show you this when we get out to the module in a while, but it's in two places. You need to have Dr. Brown's contact information handy, and also Dr. Lundy. She's the course lead for community. Okay, so this is right here on slide, whatever number we're on here. I have pictures over the page number, so I can't see it, but the expectation is my expectation is first you start trying to solve your questions on your own. Okay, you guys have a ton of student resources. You have resources with Elsevier, with Evolve, with Canvas, with everything. So start with trying to go through your own student resources to figure out whatever issue you're having. And then feel free to reach out to me, right? If you can't solve the problem or the question, okay? If I will try and help you. If I can't help you, I will either direct you, like for example, I've had lots of questions this week about scheduling issues. Well, scheduling goes back to your campus, goes back to your campus dean. Okay, so I've redirected people back to the campus. Okay, I will always respond to you if you have issues, but hopefully you're saying, I tried to do my student resources, they told me to contact you, so I need you to do some problem solving on your own as well. And then if I can't help you, I'll get in touch with Dr. Lundy, Dean Brown. Okay, so that's kind of the, not chain of command, that's the wrong word, but how we go about solving things. You know, remember, you're going to be out there as a nurse pretty soon, and you're going to be doing a lot of problem solving on your own. Okay, not that I'm not here and willing to help, but I'd like you to give it a try first. Okay, first contact, my phone number is in the my instructor resources. I don't care if you text me or call me, that's fine, I'll respond. Just identify yourself, because I don't have numbers saved in my phone. Okay, I'll provide you feedback. I'm experienced in the content area. Remember, it's a professional setting, communication to be respectful at all times. I've never had an issue with that. And I assume you guys got the announcement that talks about etiquette, right? Being on time, being respectful. That's what that's all about. Okay. At this point, everybody knows about due dates, right? Nobody's gonna be emailing me saying, oh, I didn't know we were on Central Time, on Pacific Time, and East. Everybody understands the difference, right? Everybody understands when stuff is due, right? The course is set up on Pacific Time. Okay, so everybody understands that, right? Okay. Course starts Monday, ends on Sunday, same as always. So typically the two due dates are Wednesdays and Sundays. Okay, we only have four discussion. We have four discussion questions. One of them is a group, and then we have a group project due in week 3, but that's not really due until Sunday. So 4. So you have 4 Wednesdays that you have due dates. That's it. Okay, 4. And then the rest, everything else is due on Sunday. All right. So what I like to do is I go in on Thursday mornings and on Monday mornings, just to start to figure out who's turned in what and who hasn't. On those 4 Thursday mornings after your discussion questions, I'll go in and, you know, if they're not turned in, I mark down a 0. Unless you've talked to me, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if I haven't heard from you, I just go in and put 0s on Thursday mornings and Monday mornings. I don't know what else to do unless you've contacted me that there's an issue. As far as I'm concerned, it's not turned in. We used to be able to be super flexible like a year ago at this time, but that's not much anymore. So here's this is the late policy, and this is also the first question of the attestation. For my students, I'm not sure what Dr. Lundy does. I always do the attestation questions at the end of class so that we can get that done. We do them together as a group, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, because you have to attest that you attended class within 24 hours of attending. Okay, so you guys, what's today? Wednesday? So you guys have till tomorrow. All right. But I started this last term as well. We just do the attestation questions at the end of class. It's done. You submit it. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. So this is the first question. And just remember this. There's two parts to the late. Only with prior approval, right here. Okay. And if you do have the prior approval, which if you get in touch with me, of course you can have approval. I just need to know. Okay. You have a week to complete it. Okay. You have 1 to 7 days to complete it, and you'll get a 10% deduction in that first week. After 7 days, you can't turn it in. So like at the end of the term, if you haven't turned in like 2 out of the 4 NCLEXs and it's week 10, you can't turn in weeks 2 and 4. And this really got, we really hunkered down on this probably the 3rd term of last year. So this is really not negotiable. Okay. And it shouldn't be. I mean, we're going to be nurses, right? What happens if somebody's 8 days late with getting their medication? Well, doesn't work that way. Okay. So there's the first answer to the attestation question. Okay, so this is Dr. Dean Brown wanted us to really focus on this time. So there has to be 2 submissions per week. Okay, that's how you get your attendance. So attendance is taken with student submissions. Okay, so you must have 2 student submissions each week. Well, one of them obviously is your lecture, right? The other one will be either NCLEX, case studies, projects, papers, discussion boards, Kaplan exams. My only warning, I don't have any issue. I mean, I do, but I don't make a big deal about it. I don't have any issue with working ahead. I haven't locked any assignments. Okay. Other instructors do things differently, but be careful about working ahead. Okay. Couple things. One is definitely make sure you're caught up on everything prior. But number 2, don't work ahead and submit too much because, like, for example, for the people who submit their NCLEX question next week stuff. So for the people that have already completed NCLEX and discussion boards for next week, they get populated into this week. Okay, so next week, they're only going to have 1 submission. Does that make sense? Now, we talked about this yesterday in class. So one of the students said that you can do your NCLEXs all ahead of time, but you don't have to submit it. You can kind of set it aside. So I would be doing that. Okay, so I've already had several people turn in their week 2 discussion for next week. That's fine, right? Just don't turn in your NCLEX yet because you need a second submission for next week. Does that make sense? So be careful about working ahead. I'm all for working ahead, but you need to be mindful that you have to have 2 submissions. Just because you turn in week 4 NCLEX, I don't count that in week 4. It's a week 1 submission. Okay? Does that all make sense? Really, really, Dean Brown wanted us to explain that. Okay? And then anybody not posting within 14 days in a row will be dropped. But you guys are all in semester 7. I don't anticipate any of that. You guys should already be doing all these 7 keys, steps to success, reviewing the module, complete the reading assignments. We'll talk about that. Step 3, we do not have. There is no interactive lecture in this class. Okay, attending live sessions is mandatory. Okay, you're expected to attend these. If you're not going to be at class, like I've already had a couple in my yesterday's class, that next week there's a PEDS clinical orientation set up at the same time as class time. Okay, so they've let me know that. A few have let me know that. So I will always offer, let's see, this is my Wednesday class. So I'll always offer you guys if you want to attend my Tuesday morning class. Okay, because I really think live sessions are better. It's fine to listen to a recording, but I really believe in the live sessions. So if you can't attend this class and you let me know, I'm going to offer you to go to my Tuesday class. If you can't do that and you're going to do the recording has to be watched within 24 hours. Okay, and you answer the attestation questions. Okay, and you got to review your rubrics. Like I'm going to send out an email this afternoon. I wanted to get with this class first as well. So to the people that have already turned in discussion questions, several of them are fine, but there's a few of them that you're not even covering what's being asked. I think the discussion, and that's for next week. The discussion question was pick 3 things, and then you have to do 3 or 4 things with each thing. So I'm going to send out an email today to please read the rubric. Please know what you're being graded on. And the few people that, there's been people that have turned in the professional development plans. Most are in the right format and all that, but some of them are not. And so I'm going to send out an email, not to specific people, it's going to be in my week 1 in review. If you've submitted your professional development plan, go back and look at it. Go back and look at the rubric. Make sure you covered everything. Okay. Keep in contact with me, have reliable internet, read all directions carefully, log in. I mean, I post in the announcements every couple of days. I just do. So, get in the habit of looking at that. I'm going through this because I got bogged down on this yesterday, and I would rather spend time on the course. Because you're going to hear this 3 times this week. Whenever you have P's, you're going to hear this, and whenever you have med-surg, you're going to hear this. Okay. We don't need to go through. Oh, if anybody, I would please go through and make sure you're not having any issues with the textbook. Can everybody get the textbook so far?
Yes.
Okay. If anybody's having any issues, stay on after and we'll talk about it. Let's see. I already talked about this. I sent you guys a copy of this, right? You guys have a copy of this PowerPoint. I sent that in my first announcement. Okay, so if you need to go back and review it, I have a couple of blank stares. That's fine, but it is there. You guys do have this PowerPoint. Okay. Review sessions. I'm not going to be doing separate review sessions. I already told you how I'm going to do the review sessions. They'll be during class. Not mandatory, but highly encouraged. So this way I know if you have to come to class, you're going to get a review. Worked out well last term. Tutoring. I can help with tutoring. I know one of our teammates, Dr. Apple, is going to do. She did it last term. I think she did it on Wednesdays. She does like an hour review every week and invites everybody to review how to answer NCLEX questions, how to, prepare for those kinds of exams. So I would encourage you to take advantage of it. The other thing I'm going to be sending you this week is some math resources. And I'll show you that in the module. All right, so here's our breakdown. I'm not going to do this here. We're going to do this in the syllabus. Everybody understands I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. And I've got 2 pages of students. Okay, everybody understands a 78%, right? That you first are graded on your 4 KGAs. What's KGA? Key Graded Assessment. You have 3 exams and a Hessie. Each is worth 20%, right? You have to be at a 78 at the end of the Hessie before the other 20% is added in. You guys all know that, right? Right? And at the end, if you're above a 78, your 20% of homework gets added in. So what happens if you're at, after the 4 graded assessments, you're at an 82, but you really haven't turned in your homework? Could that 20% take you below a 78?
Yes.
In a heartbeat. So just don't, I didn't have, last term, I didn't have any homework fails my first term. Don't be a homework fail student. Just don't. Okay. It's silly. Okay. This is not a hard class. There's not a lot of stuff that you're required to do. Just get it done. Okay. Do not, I hate to use the term blow off, but do not blow off this class. It's a fun class. It's a different class. It has you thinking in a different way in the community setting. Just get your work done, get it turned in, and don't be missing assignments because you only have a week to make it out. And maybe just set aside some time every week and just get your community stuff done.
Okay. Don't procrastinate, right?
Yeah, just get it done. Just set aside an hour a week or 2, whatever it takes. Get your community stuff done because you do not want to be failing this class because of homework. Okay, so that's my mantra on that. So we're going to skip the next couple because you all understand that. Everybody should already have an exam soft login. I always open the exam the Saturday before, and I'll send you an email. Exams open. Please go in and download it because we expect you to have it downloaded before I show up to class, right? To make sure there's no difficulties, technical difficulties, all that stuff. Okay. We'll go through all that. Everybody knows we're taking exams during classes, right? So show up early. We'll get you checked in. I try and get going as soon as we can. I think I'm going to try something new this term. It's in your Evolve, you have student resources in your textbook. I don't know if a lot of you look at it, but there's a section, and I'll show it. Oh. Okay, let me try and do this now. I'm going to do it now. Where's my Evolve? Oh, I've expired. Do you guys go in and look at your Evolve, your student resources? All right, where am I trying to do this? Why can't I already went in there. So maybe I have to, just bear with me. It's in here, Evolve. Do you guys know about, do you guys use these, your resources in Evolve? So here's the textbook. Here's what I get. This is what comes up for me. I have instructor resources and I have student resources. Okay, here's your student resources. You have every chapter, right? I'm just going to do chapter 1. Here's what you have in your chapters. Okay, I'm going to do this. Here's what I would like to do on, if we have time. On weeks we have exams. First of all, I think you guys should be doing this every week. These are, anytime you can do review questions that will provide you rationales. I am huge on rationales. That's where I think a ton of learning comes from, is the rationales. Okay, so you have 10 review questions that you can do every week. Okay, it's like a quiz. Okay, you can go in and do them, you can reset it, you can take it again, and it tells you if you got them right or wrong, and then it gives you all the rationales. So what I would like to do during exam weeks, like if we all get done in 90 minutes, I'd like to take the last half hour, have you guys come back if you want, and start going through chapter review questions for you guys. Why not? Does that make sense? Instead of saying, okay, you're all done, take your exam and go. I mean, I'd like to utilize that time if I could, if you want. Okay, so that's one thing you have. And then you also have a case study. I send you a case study from my lesson plan. Okay, that's what you got in the announcement. But you guys have there's a case study in every chapter that's separate from my lesson plan. So I think you guys should go into chapter 1, and I'll show you where it is, and go find the case study of Debbie Brown. And it has the answers here in your student resources, has the answers and has the rationales.
Do we have a code for that book?
It should be right in your, hang on, let me get out of here. Where's your module? I know we haven't got to that yet, but we'll get to that. Yes, everybody should have a code for that. Right? I mean, do you guys have your book? Can somebody help out? Who's speaking?
Teresa.
Okay.
I don't see a code for that book.
How are you guys accessing the book?
Usually we have a scratch off when we have a physical book, but for this class, it's an electronic book.
Yeah,
Right.
it's an online book.
Right.
That's all we
it's
have.
online, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we
I
don't
don't know
have
if
it on Evolve.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
have the
so
code
we
for
don't
Evolve.
have a code. Yeah, it's for the
So
book.
how are you getting into your book?
We just open up the Vital Books thing.
It's under Vital Source. It's just an electronic book. It doesn't have all the stuff that Evolve has.
Oh, so you guys can't see the case studies, and
No.
is that everybody? Oh.
Yes, because the book's stored on this Vital Source bookshelf, so that's how you go and access it.
So it's just the textbook.
Yeah, it's just a textbook. We don't have the Evolve
Okay.
features.
Okay, so I'm going to show you something that, so in the event that I wanted to do those review questions with you, I could pull them up on my screen, share it with you. We just do the exam together, or the review questions together. And then for the case study that's in the chapter, I could just send you the case study printout, which has the correct answers and has the rationales. Correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's keep going here. Exams, we're not going to talk about. You guys know about exams. Contact your, what do you do? Here's a question. What do you guys do if you're having problems with when you're taking your exam? What are you supposed to do? First off the bat.
Notify your teacher.
Before that. Stop the exam. Just stop where you are. Right? Stop it and notify me. Okay, because everything is time sensitive and everything's recorded. So we need to see that you stop the exam. Okay. Homework assignments. Do we need to go through planning, prioritizing, completing work, and submitting it? No. Do we? So again, you all have this. So you all have this PowerPoint that I sent out. So this would be whatever number slide this is. I would go back, and can anybody see what number slide this is? Go back and review it. Planning and organizing. I don't know how you guys plan and organize. You've got to this point by planning and organizing well. So whatever you do, keep doing it. We talked about late work. We talked about 10%. We talked about you have to let me know. NCLEX, the most important thing to remember about NCLEX is that you have to access NCLEX through your module. You can't go through the outside. Okay, it's not going to work because you can't submit a PDF from the outside. It has to be through your module. And we cannot accept screenshots. I don't know how to explain that any clearer. We cannot accept screenshots. It won't, Dean Brown will not allow screenshots, and it's not allowed in the whole program. Okay, so you have to go through the module and accept that. Okay, and then the module, I'll show you for week 2 next week. It's pretty specific. It tells you what subcategories to pull up. Right, and I've already gone in there and tried to pull up all the subcategories, and it does pull up 50 questions. Okay, so again, screenshots are not accepted. All right, and we want you to do a 50 question bank, not 5 10s or 2 25s. 50 question bank, because it gives you the big picture and it goes through all the questions, where if you do 10, 10, 10, you don't get the variety of questions. Okay. Hessie, we'll talk about next week, probably next week. I'll say I have to update it a little bit. I'm going to send you the study guide for the Hessie exam, even though it's at the beginning of the term, because I like you to have that the whole term. Because here's one of my suggestions that I tell my students every semester. I would take there's 3 study guides for exam 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a Hessie study guide. I would be following along with those every couple of weeks and kind of highlighting and checking in off what we've already gone through. So by the end of the term, your Hessie study guide should be all marked up of everything we've covered. Does that make sense? And the only parts that you should be studying, other than reviewing, are parts that aren't marked up. But our curriculum is designed to design our study guides, and our Hessie study guide and our exam study guides are designed exactly how the class is set up. Does that make sense? So our study guides are covering the important information, concept information we're doing in weeks 1 and 2 for exam 1. Make sense? Same with the case studies. You have 2 case studies. You have a disaster case study and a hospice case study, and they have to be accessed through Canvas, through the module as well. All right. These grades will transfer automatically. So again, I just don't be accessing your assignments outside of the module. Papers, APA format. You've got in student resources, there's a whole writing library. If you need some help or refreshers on APA, go in there and look at that. Always look at your rubrics. Okay. You guys have a ton of resources in your student resources in your library. Okay. Here's the guidelines for APA. I'm going to send that out to an announcement as well. What do we here? Let's see. Kaplan, we'll talk about, it's not till week 10, we'll talk about it later. I'm not talking about it now. Exams, Hessie, we all know how the Hessies are. I think last term went much smoother than the term before. I hope you guys agree with your remediation packets and all of that. So we'll talk about Hessie down the road. But you all know how Hessies work. Okay. Any questions about that PowerPoint? You're going to hear it. If you haven't already heard it, you're going to hear it 2 more times. Okay. Questions about that? Let's get to the syllabus. Okay, bear with me to go figure out where I saved it again. Share screen. Get rid of that. Syllabus right here. Okay, so I pulled up, I'm going to pull up, here is what I see. Okay, so this is my this is my Wednesday class, 3 to 5. So I always like to pull up student view so that I see what you're seeing as we go through this. Okay, so that's what you should see. Okay, you have your classmates. Do you guys get your classmates? Let's see. Yep. Okay, here's your classmates. Does anybody have any questions on any announcements? So here was the announcement that I posted over the weekend. That very first one. Here's that orientation PowerPoint right there. Okay. I'm just trying to see if you guys have any questions. Syllabus cover sheet. We talked about that. You all had a welcome message from Dean Brown, right? Everybody see that? Week 1 announcement. I'll send this out every week, but I'll combine this. Okay. I only sent in separately this week because I didn't want to overwhelm you. So I usually do a week 2 announcement, and it will have the PowerPoints and case studies attached. All right. Does anybody have any questions on our week 1 announcement? I go through what the top part, it's kind of a summary of the module. I go through what we're going to be covering. What's the content? What are the subjects? Then I go through your to-do list, what you have to do. By the way, number 4, this is my favorite assignment to grade. I love reading your professional development plans. I love hearing what you do now and what you want to do in the future. They're awesome. What else? Here's your professional development plan handouts or attachments. One is the rubric. Okay. One is the rubric for, take a look at this. It's an assignment overview, and then I give you the rubric. All right. So second one is one of our, I gave you a template. Super easy. If you want to use the template, it takes everything from the rubric of what you need in there. Now, the people that I think half a dozen people so far have turned into professional development goals. I think 4, I looked earlier, 4 are in this. It doesn't have to be this format, but 4 are in it. It was easy, but 2 are not. And some of the stuff is missing. All right. So that will be part of the email I sent out later to go back and review your plan. Does that make sense? So I try, the announcements for me are really important because this is really the only way I can communicate to all of you guys. All right. And then I'll always, with the weekly announcement, I'll attach the PowerPoints and the case studies. Okay. PowerPoints, what you need to know is the PowerPoint is a synopsis of the book chapter. Okay. The objectives are the same. Okay. And the information's the same. It's a outline. Okay. It's an outline. Okay. So what I will tell you from the PowerPoint, the objectives are the same here as in the book. This is what we're going to be focusing on in class, because objectives are, by the end of this chapter, you should be able to 1, 2, 3. Whoops. What did I just do? Sorry, guys. Where am I? Oh, there. Okay. So we're going to be focused on objectives, right? You can't read every chapter from the first word to the last word. We have to pull out what we want, we want you to get from this class. And the objectives are a great start. All right. So, and we also base our study guides and our exams on what are the most important parts to pull out of each chapter. All right. So be looking for objectives. Look, go find your objectives. Be able to answer those questions. That's what I'm going to be lecturing on. You know, the information, the objectives. I can tell you right now that one of the important things that has to come out of chapter 1 that you have to know is what's the difference between community-based nursing and community-oriented nursing. Okay. So what I would do is go through the objectives and then go through the PowerPoint, right? And see what information you can find in here, because look, the next slide is what's community-based nursing, what's community-oriented nursing. Okay. And use the book as a backup. Okay. There's most of the information from the objectives can be found in the PowerPoints, but there's not a lot. There's some that you need to go into the book, or here's the other thing. I don't send out these case studies just to give you more reading. Okay. We base study guides and exam questions based on case studies as well. Okay. So take a look at your case studies. Okay. I have pulled this from my lesson plan. So this is the case studies that is presented to the instructors in Evolve. And then I share them with you. And why do I share them with you? For the rationales. I'm perfectly fine. I don't know why I have this highlighted in yellow, but I'm perfectly fine providing you our lesson case study that has answers to it. I'm perfectly fine doing that because number one, you have the correct answers, but more importantly, you have the rationales. All right. So like this says, this explains to you the rationales, both community-oriented nursing and community-based nursing. Must be aware of cultural diversity. And then it talks about what the definitions of each are. So the PowerPoints and the case studies, like I said, I don't send the case studies out just to give you more reading. Read the case studies, read the rationales. Okay. And what I probably will start setting out for next week is I may send out the answers to the case study that's presented in the book. Okay, there's two things you have in your student resources. I'm just going to show you that that you can't access, at least for now. So I may send them to you. Okay, so let's just go to chapter 1. So for example, I know it's at the end, but here's your case study. So if I end up in week 2 or even week 1 sending you the handouts for the case studies of Debbie Brown, okay, go through your case study in the book. Okay, and it asks you 3 questions. Answers can be found in the Evolve website. Well, you can't see them, and thanks for letting me know that. But I can, and I can send them to you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And the case study in the student resources, when I go and send you the answers to these, it has the rationales. Okay. So I'll go back and send week 1, 2, 3, and 21. I'll go back and send the Word documents that have the answers to these. So does that mean that I want you to review that in the book? Yeah. Okay. And then there's one other right here, practice application. Okay. If you look, I'm back to the student resources that you don't have access to. Okay. But here's the answer key for the practice application, which is awesome. Okay. So here's what it looks like. So answer key for practice application. I'm going to send this to you guys too. This is for chapter 1. Okay. Let me get my place again. Oh, where am I? Where was I? Right here. So that's another part of each chapter that I want you to take a look at. Again, because it's a learning, it's another tool. So I'll send you the answers for practice application. Does that make sense?
Yes, I have a question. So what about for those of us in Dr. Lundy's class? Will you share that information with her so she knows? Does she do the same thing that you do?
I think I'll talk to her this afternoon to let her, yeah. I just think the more that you guys can do as far as practice application, case studies, reading rationales, that's how you learn. You don't really learn from listening to me for 2 hours. And so as you go through each chapter, here are the things I think you should focus on. Okay, so write this down. I think you need to review your objectives. Okay, you're going to find the same exact objectives in the same place. Okay, here they are. They're at the front of the chapter. And so we're in chapter 1. They're at the front of the chapter, and they're the first slide of your PowerPoint. Same thing.
Dr. Lundy's class doesn't have access to the PowerPoints. They was never shared with us.
Okay, well, she should be. She will. You can check with her on that. But I always send out, since I don't have a Monday class, I'll probably just do it Sundays. So week 2 announcement will be the announcement, the PowerPoints, the case studies from my lesson plan, and I'll probably send you the 2 answer keys to the practice application and the case study in the book. So that's what my students can expect, and I'll do that on Sundays. I mean, we all should be sending out stuff ahead of time. I know Dr. Lundy does. Okay, so here's what I'd be focusing on in the book. Go and find how are you going to answer those. Okay, and this is not to say that I'm not going to follow up with it as the professor. This is how you can do your legwork. Okay, so this is what I'd do. I'd start with your objectives, right? Go through the PowerPoint. How can you answer these questions in the PowerPoint? If not, let's come to the book. Okay. There's a few things that I'm going to cover every chapter in the book. One is Healthy People 2020. So you have to go find that book. So look, here's population focused nursing practice on page 5. Okay. And because we're not covering lecture this week, I'm just showing you how this, so population focused health. So what's objective number 4? Okay. Describe the role of public health and nursing and population health. And I'll go through this next week when we do all the chapters, but I'm just showing you what is, where was it? Right here. No. Population focused nursing practice. So there's your section that answers that fourth objective. Okay. You don't need to read the whole chapter. Okay. We'll go through all this next week when I cover both weeks, but I'm just showing you how I think it would be best to go about this. Okay, so there's 2 boxes that we're going to cover every single chapter. So I want you to find your Healthy People 2020 box, and I want you to find your Levels of Prevention box. Where's our Levels of Prevention box? Right here. Those are in every chapter. All right, we are going to start to learn about what is primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, and we'll talk about this next week. But your levels, your primary, secondary, and tertiary is going to be applied. You have to be able to apply it to every topic we're going to talk about in community. So these ones are related to public health. In chapter 2, they're related to your primary, secondary, tertiary is related to history of public health. In chapter 3 or chapter 21, the levels of prevention are related to vulnerable populations because that's what the chapter is. Okay, so we're going to be studying this for every chapter, levels of prevention, and same with Healthy People 2020. There's a lot of questions on all 3 exams about Healthy People 2020. We'll talk about that next week. Okay. And then the other 2 things, well, there's actually 5 things that you should be focusing on when you get to the book. It should be the objectives, Healthy People 2020, levels of prevention, and then most chapters have a case study. Most. Okay, so here it is and I'm going to be sending you the answers with the rationales, right? Most, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 chapters that don't have a case study. So if you don't get the case study handout from me for chapter, I think it's chapter 2 doesn't have one. Okay, and then the other thing too is your practice application. I'm going to send you the answers to that. All right, because here again, it says answers can be found on a Evolve website, which you don't have access to. So as you're preparing, that's my suggestion. Does that help?
Yes,
thank you.
Okay. And again, we'll go over each of the, hopefully you've done some legwork, and we can have an interactive session at the beginning and say, okay, let's start with chapter 1. Let's answer these questions. Let's answer these questions, and hopefully you've done some legwork and we can answer these and move on. Right? And so let's see, who can I see here? Teresa, pick on you. Or Kim, I see Kim. Let's say Kim answers and says, all right, I already know what the mission is and core functions of public health are. They are, right here. They are assessment. It's on page 4. There, Kim says it's assessment, policy development, and assurance. So everybody's taking notes and says, okay, thank you, Kim. Thanks for looking for that for us. And we have our first objective down. That's how I want this to go. We're all helping each other here. Does that make sense? What do you guys think about that?
Yes.
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 If we all do a little bit of legwork, then it's going to go much smoother, especially next week when we try and cover 8 chapters. Okay. And again, I don't want you to think of this as being overwhelmed. It's not that. There's not that much. There really isn't. If you really hone it down to knowing the objectives, going into the PowerPoint, to start with, if you can't answer them from the PowerPoint, go into the book. All right. And then we're going to do practice application. We're going to do 2 sets of case studies. One I'm going to send you is in my lesson plan, and the other I'm going to send you from student resources. So you're going to have a whole bunch of questions to work with and rationales to read. It's awesome. And by the time we get to the second hour of next week, and you guys already have the study guide, you'll know it all and go into the test confident. It's that simple. I promise you. If you just stay on top of this class, there's not that much. Okay. All right, let me get back to, all right, so that's the book. So I'm done with the book. Exit out on that. Okay, I'm done with this, right? That's your evolve that you can't access. But I'm going to be sending you the answers to both of these. Okay, and then I think what I'd like to do, see, I have, all right, let me show you guys what I have. I've already done this. All right, hang tight. This is what I was going to, let's see. Week 1, review questions, student resources. So this, I've already gone through and taken the test and gotten all the rationales. So here's what it looks like. Okay, so I don't know if so review questions 1 through 10. That's what it looks like. Okay, if I send you the whole thing, it has, or if we just review this, that's what I think I want to do. I think I want to just pull these up in, whether it's during our exam review, that last hour of next week, or after the exam, going through them. So, but this is what they look like. You have 10 questions. There's 10 questions in the student resources for every chapter. Okay, and like this first one, a nurse in the clinic that provides direct care services with clients to TB would be classified as what? Okay, and the correct answer is A, community-based nursing. But then it goes through all the rationales of why it is this and why it's not this and why it's not this. Does that make sense? I really wish you guys had access. So thank you for telling me. I really wish you had.
That?
I don't know. I don't know if I can. I think I can.
That'd be awesome, because then we can review it and study it a little bit deeper.
Right. And then I have exactly. So I want to share that. So I've done that with, this is chapter 2. I pulled out your 10 questions because I thought you guys had access to them and we could go through them together. So again, if you just read through these simple 10 questions, it's a ton of information. Does that make sense? A ton of rationales. So anyway, I'll talk to Dr. Lundy about that, but yes, I would like for you guys to have that. Okay. So anyway, let's get out of here. Okay, I'm on the syllabus. Okay, just have to get my regroup here. Okay, let's go back to the syllabus. I'm getting out of Evolve. I'm going into our class. All right. Oh, to leave the student view for a minute because I can't get access to this class. Okay, so we're back to our January class. Okay. Syllabus. How are we doing on time? 2:30. Okay, so I'm going to download the syllabus and we're going to go through it real quick. All right, can you see all that, you guys? All right, you guys can go through and read the first page on your own, what the course description is, what our student SLOs are, student learning outcomes, course objectives. Okay, there's your textbook. Do you guys have access to these print reference packages? Do you know where to find them? Okay. All right, I'm going to get that information for you. All right, instructional methods. We do not have, you can put a line through interactive lessons. We don't have that. Readings we do. You're going to be getting them every week from me. Discussions, we have 4 of them. 3 of them are individual, 1 is group. Written assignments, you do have a couple. You can put a line through quizzes. We don't have quizzes. Okay. Here's how it's broken down. your 3 exams, weeks 3, 6, 9. Do we have any holidays this? Okay, no. So unit exams 3, 20% each. And then our Hessie. So the Hessie and each exam are worth the same, 20%. Our vulnerable populations assignment, which is in Doodle week 9, take a look at that percentage. You do not want to be missing that assignment. Okay, it's worth 8%. Okay, professional development plan that's due on Sunday is 2%. And then this case study, this is, well, when I go to the module, I'll show it to you, but go to week 3, go to module 3, week 3, and pull up case study. That's where the directions are for it. What basically is going to happen is it's from the Healthy People 2030 website, which is on the syllabus, which I'll show you. I'm going to break you guys up into groups. You'll have it by in the next couple of days once I get my final rosters. And then we have 3 case studies. I'm going to assign each group to case study 1, 2, 3. You work as a group to get the case study done. Okay, and you're using the reference, you're using the information from Healthy People 2030, which I'll show you where that is on the syllabus. Then you turn it in. You have 4 sets of NCLEX questions. Each is worth 1%. You have 2 case studies. They're each worth 2%. We do the Kaplan. And then just because discussion questions and group projects and attestations are pass-fail, it is factored in. Okay. This next part is all about that 78% and adding in homework or not. You can read that on your own. Okay. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. I don't do 900. I expect 1200 for all you guys. Okay. 1200. 900 is, why aim for, oh, the other thing too is when you get down to the Hessie, don't send me an email that says, what's the minimum amount I need on my Hessie to pass the class? Don't send me that email. Okay, so because I'm just going to go back and say 1200. All right, Hessie for you got for communities just 1 attempt. We all know about remediation and all that. So here's the late work stuff. We've already gone through all that. Here's the estimated time you should be spending. Okay, so here's our outline. So for this week, all right, we've got chapters 1, 2, 3, and 21. So the middle column is your activities, reading. Okay, and then here is our Healthy People 2030 website. In the syllabus, the modules are all developed around the syllabus. Okay, so here it says what do you have to do this week? The 3rd column is what you have to do this week. What's your assignment? Turn in your professional development plan, complete your attestation, and review the website for Healthy People 2030. Okay. I don't know why this was supposed to get taken out. It didn't. So pick a topic you're interested in and explore the relevant objectives. Ignore that for right now because your group is going to pick something. Okay. And here's your Healthy People 2030 website right there. So I know there's a lot of, this looks really busy, but it's really organized. Okay, so topics on the left side is what we're going to be covering. What's chapter 1, what's chapter 2, what's chapter 3, what's chapter 21, and here's what we're going to be covering. Okay, so if you start to look at all the different things we're covering in public health, so this is kind of an intro, chapter 1, history of public health, chapter 2, how is it changing U.S. health and public, how's the healthcare systems changing? And then we get into vulnerable populations right off the bat in week 1. Right. And then in week 2, we talk about how do we do, what's family development look like? How do you do a family nursing assessment? How do you assess risks? Health risks across the lifespan, all the way through infant, through elderly. Then we bring in the school nurse in week 2. And just look at all these topics: rural health, migrant health, poverty, homelessness, teen pregnancy, mental health, alcohol, tobacco, a lot of which you guys have already identified. Then in week 4, we jump in and talk about faith, community, nurse, home health, and hospice. So again, you can read through all these weeks and look at all these different topics we're going to cover. Okay. And it tells you on the activities where the exams are. So let's see, let's go to week 3. In week 3, unit exam 1, you have a case study. That's your group project. Do your attestation. Okay. So, I would print out the syllabus and just use it when you're going through the modules. All right. Does anybody have any questions on the syllabus before we get to the modules? And I'm not going through every module, just going through a little bit of it. Okay. Okay. So here's what I would do. You get to week 1. Oh, let me do my student views so that I see what you guys are seeing. Okay. Okay. You get to week 1. Here's all your resources. You guys know where to find your resources. I can't believe how many resources you have for students. It is awesome. I use student resources. When I'm doing a review of APA format or writing library, I go to the student and instructor resource. I use both the instructor and student. It's awesome. Here's my bio. You don't really need to read it, but I just wanted to show you that here's my contact information, and here's Dean Brown's. Okay. Okay, so here's what I would do if I were you guys. So we're in week 1. I would go through each part of it. All right, so when I send out a week 1 announcement, it's usually a summary of the module. You're going to see the same information, but I just, in case you don't read it, I like to do an announcement. All right, so there's always a box of what's due. So reading, so for this week, you have your reading, professional development plan, when it's due. All right, just at the very beginning of the week, just go through this module once. Just go through, just keep hitting next, next, next. So everything's in there. And then the second page is your reading, what the title of each chapter is. And then here's your Healthy People 2030. Okay. And next is your textbook. All right, so you should be able to load it. I'm going to get out of that because it's going to ask me for my sign-in and all that. And it's different from students. But you guys can all access the book, right, through the module. You just can't access all the other stuff I was talking about. Okay, got it. All right, so we were at textbook. Okay, so you click on here for your textbook. Again, I'm in the student view, so you should be seeing this. Okay, so here's your professional development plan. So I've already sent this to you in the announcement because I wanted you to read it twice. Okay, so it tells you all of what you need to complete. I've sent you the rubric as well. And we don't have the template loaded into here, but I've already sent you the template. All right. So if you do everything, but you don't do short and long-term goals, you get points taken off. So look at the rubric. Okay. And then week 1 live attestation. Okay. So it's 239. No, we're not going to do that yet. That's what we're going to come back to and do. So just FYI, a couple of things. In week 2 is your first set of NCLEX. Your discussion question 1. So let me just show you this for example, for the people that have already turned it in. So next week it says, here's some top common ailments seen in kids: lice, scoliosis, conjunctivitis. You got 8 or 9 of them. It says, choose 3, but you have to do several things with the 3 of each of them. What are the signs and symptoms of the 3 you've chosen, or the health consequence? And then develop a 6-point educational plan for parents. So if you pick lice, you have to do what the signs and symptoms are. And I need a 6-point, teach parents to wash their, whatever you do. But several of the discussion questions that people have turned in, they just gave me the signs and symptoms of lice, ADHD, and lead poisoning, but there's no educational plan.
Because that says if you choose teen pregnancy, seatbelt safety, or helmet safety, that's what you have to do.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It says if you choose teen pregnancy, seatbelt safety, and helmet safety, then you have to develop an educational plan.
Okay, well, that's written wrong then, because we want an educational plan for seatbelt safety. We want an educational plan for teen pregnancy. So we're expecting I'm going to make a note of that. We'll change that for next term, but the expectation is a 6-point education plan for whatever you choose. Okay, so thanks for putting that out. So, and I'll put that in the announcement that I send out later today, just for clarification. Okay. All right. The things that are due down the road, you have to go to the week they're due to get the instructions. So for example, you have to go to week 3 to get your case study. Okay, so there's case studies. So I'll send out an announcement with the groups. Your case study 1, case study 2, and case study 3. All right, and I'll tell you in the announcement, go to week 3 and get what your case study is. Okay, and yeah.
For you're saying you'll send out, all of the instructions and everything, but for Professor Lundy's class, will we also get your messages?
No, you'll get an email from her with your groups assigned to whatever case study.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
We try and do as much standardization as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me show you one more thing. Let me show you one more thing.
Okay.
Vulnerable populations is due in week 9, but I highly suggest you go and look at it in the first couple of weeks of class. Gives you some suggestions of what you might, what your vulnerable population in your community might be. But that's an assignment I would take a look at early on. Okay. And then just so you know, on these on your couple things, on your NCLEX, okay, here's where you start your assignments. I'm in your student view. Don't do it from the outside, do it from right here. Okay, here's your subcategories. You need to put in all of those. Okay?
But if you hit start assignment, it doesn't go anywhere. That's where you upload your information.
I'm sorry, say that again. When you hit start assignment, here's all the direct.
When you hit start assignment, it's just going to ask you to upload the assignment. It's not going to take you to the assignment itself. It's going to ask you. That's all it's going to do for us.
And then you put in your subcategory.
You can't put in the subcategories under start assignment. That's just where we turn in the assignment.
Okay. Oh, so you're accessing the NCLEX through Elsevier?
Yes.
And you're submitting it through start assignment?
Yes.
Correct. So if you want to go and do your NCLEXs and keep them kind of on hold in the Elsevier website, don't try and think about not submitting them to the week they're due.
Okay, that's fine.
Because you have to have 2 points.
Not linked to get us.
What? Okay, so that's your NCLEX. I wanted to show you on these case studies. So the first one I think is in the 4th week. So your first one is here, your hospice. Okay, you have to go through here to load it. You have to. You can't do it from the outside. I can't stress that enough. Okay, because you're going to end up on the phone with Elsevier and there's a lot of hoops to jump through. So we went through the study, so anyway, my point is, you please submit and start your assignments all through the module. Okay. What else? We'll talk about the other group assignment later. We don't need to do that now.
On the case studies, do you take the first grade or is it unlimited?
I think it's the first, and that all populates for me. I don't have to, the NCLEX you send to me or you upload, but Kaplan and your 2 case studies all populate into the gradebook. Okay. What else do I want to show you? Syllabus we went through, modules, announcements you've got to check. Did I forget? That's where I was. That's where I left off. So like my Tuesday group, I've already, oops, I have to get out of here. My Tuesday group in announcements, they have one more than you do, because yesterday afternoon when I finished, I sent them the recording. All right, so you'll be getting this in a little while. Lecture 1 recording for today. Does that make sense? So if you want to go back and review it, or you want to go back to, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's 2:46. So let's all go to our attestation. Even Dr. Lundy's. Everybody go to your week 1 attestation. Do I have to go there? I'll go there too. I'll go there too. There's a method to my madness with these, because it's so easy to forget to do. Okay. But this is attendance. This is how your attendance is viewed. And since these are mandatory, for me, it's easier to take five minutes at the end of class and make sure you all get these done. All right. So who wants to, and I don't care, whoever wants to speak out, and everybody can put the same answer or put it in the chat. I don't care. What's the policy for late work and percentage deduction if not turned in on time? Who knows what that is? Who can tell the group what to put?
10%.
10% after 7 days and after
0
yeah.
after 8.
If you have approval.
But, exactly. What do you have to do first?
You have to get approval first, and then it's 10% off.
Correct. So everybody start typing that in.
If not, it's a 0.
Okay, start typing that in. I have to go get something real quick because.
Could you say that one more time? I'm sorry, my computer cut out.
That's okay. You guys, I'm finding the answer to number 2 for you. So you guys talk amongst yourselves right now.
After approval, it's a 10% deduction on the first week. After that, after the 7 days, you get a 0%.
I'm showing you guys. Oh gosh. Okay, does everybody get that? All right, hang on, because I have. So yesterday, well, let's just talk about this for a minute. Define primary care. What's primary care, you guys? What do we think primary care is?
Like your initial basic care from your doctor.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, what else? What else is it?
Takes care of the whole patient.
Okay, so somebody read my chat. Somebody read what I just put in the chat. Somebody, anybody. Okay, so or read it to yourselves. We talked about this yesterday, and then one of my students came up with this, which I thought was excellent. What do you think?
I don't see anything.
I haven't hit send yet. That's why. Duh. There you go. Sorry. What do you guys think about that for a definition of primary care? Somebody read it out loud to the group, please. Okay.
Provide
go ahead.
rated, accessible healthcare services by clinicians who are accountable for addressing a large majority of personal healthcare needs, developing a sustained partnership with clients, and practicing in the context of family and community.
What do you guys think about that? Think of primary care. What's primary care? Prevention, education, trying to get in front of things before they happen.
Yeah.
Right? Think about when you go see your primary care physician. It's more like a check-in. Okay, so I don't care if you guys want to copy and paste that. It's fine. I liked it. Or if you have your own, if you've already been looking ahead in the books and PowerPoints and you have your own definition, put that in. It's fine. But I thought this was an excellent summary from a student from my classroom yesterday. And if you want to add to it, fine. So now when you're done, and I'll take any questions you want, but I'm not taking any questions until every single person hits submit.
Wait, stop. Sorry.
And once you hit submit, it's done. You don't have to think about it. So you guys are working on that. We have 9 minutes left. I'm really kind of a stickler for respecting your time. And there's even some weeks that you get out a little early. But I respect your time. The one thing I am going to do here is I am going to stop recording. Well, no, I guess we could keep recording for questions. Is everybody getting this first week's attestation done? Is anybody having issues?
Are we supposed to put the date and stuff too?
What?
Are we supposed to put the date too? Or just the answer?
What is the third? What does it say? The third, right under the second question. Does it say day or just professor and time? What does it say?
Both. That's professor and date.
Whose lecture you viewed and or attended and the date.
Okay, so Marvel 112.
Does Professor Lundy unlock her modules?
Yeah, well, that came up yesterday because I had her class yesterday as well. She does it 1 week ahead of time. So that's a discussion you'll have with her, because I sent Dr. Lundy that in an email. Your students are asking about NCLEX, and that was her response. So that's a discussion you have with her. I don't have anything locked. But as we talked about at the beginning, I caution you about working ahead too much. You have to have 2 entries in a given week. And attestation's always 1. Okay. But you have assignments every week, and be careful. Like on, I think there's a week that there's just an attestation and a case study due. It might be the disaster case study, but that's it. It's only those 2 that week. So, yeah, I'm not going to keep track of that for you guys. You guys have to keep track of that on your own. There has to be 2 entry points every week. And I can tell you that's being watched extremely carefully this term.
So I have a concern about that. I did those prior to coming to class before you said that we had to do 2 things for the week. So how does that count against me for those 2 assignments?
What did you do?
I did both of the case studies.
I saw that. Just stay on after and we'll look at it. Stay on after.
Okay.
If you can, stay on after. I saw that.
Okay.
So one of my students already did the 2 case studies.
Yes, that was me. Sorry. Somebody else is asking you a question too.
Go ahead. Yep, Laura.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that Miss Mona, she was in the class, but she just texted me that her phone died. So I don't know if she will be able to do the attestation right now. So
who is it, Laura?
Mona.
Is it one of my students or Dr. Lundy's?
Lundy's.
Okay, so what I did yesterday, in case Dr. Lundy's students who are in my class had to leave early or come late, whatever, I also sent her my recording.
Okay, thank you.
So just tell her that I will be sending Dr. Lundy my recording.
Okay, thanks.
For anybody to review and all that.
Thank you.
Okay. What else do we have?
Professor Marvel.
Yes.
Do we have to do our peer reviews a different day than the discussion post?
No, it's all, I'll explain that when we have that assignment. The peer reviews are handled differently. You have to email them to me, but we'll go through all that. Not worried about that for today, but don't worry about that. Peer reviews last term were awesome.
For the discussion, when you said the 6 points, is that 6 for each thing you pick or 6 total?
What are we talking about?
The discussion post.
What about it?
When you have to pick 3 things and it said 6 educate, is it 6 for each thing or 6 total?
Yep.
Okay.
Go back. Yep.
Thanks.
6 total. It's 6 for each. The other thing, at least for my students, that I really like is feedback. I really like to know if talking too much, talking too little, talking too fast, giving you too much information. Was it just right? So because I adjust, I can adjust on the fly. I just need to make sure that I'm meeting your needs. So any feedback that I can take into next week from you guys. Was this helpful?
Yes, very.
Yes, ma'am.
Who has
so for us in Miss Lundy's class, are we going to be in her Zoom from now on?
Mm-hmm. Unless she sends you over to me. You'll be back to her Zoom starting next week. Hey, what was the issue, or what was the issue at the beginning of class when all you guys came in a few minutes late? Did you not?
The Zoom
ID
wasn't working.
Valid, yeah.
You gave us the wrong Zoom link, so that's why we were having trouble.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just disregard my email because I figured it out finally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be late, but the link wasn't working, so I was having trouble.
No biggie. Because she called me and asked me for my ID, so I wasn't sure what